Check your mics, please. I see that. Mute button? Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with our meeting. And if you could rise, Commissioner Patrick's going to lead us in our pledge.
With liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Patrick,
Here.
Commissioner Rice,
Here.
Commissioner Trejo. Once again, please.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Shaw Williams,
Here.
Chairman Springs,
Here. Any communications from staff?
Yes, Chairman, we would like to let you know that we have some revised materials for item 6A that have been distributed to each of the commissioners and left on the table for the public as well. The case planner will explain the changes on those materials when the item comes up. And we'd also like to announce that we're inviting the Planning Commission to attend this year's National American Planning Association Conference in Philadelphia with us in about a month, and we'll provide further details on that.
Thank you. Public comments regarding agenda items. Person wishing to address the Planning Commission on any items on the agenda other than the public hearing may do so at this time. I understand we are not on phone lines. We have a live audience, so if there's anyone in the audience that want to address the Planning Commission on any items other than the public hearing may do so at this time. Seeing none, we will close this segment and we'll start with our first. I need an approval on minutes for January 23rd, 2023.
I move approval.
It's been properly moved in second. Call for any questions on this, January 23rd? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote.
Commissioner Patrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Rice,
Aye.
Commissioner Trejo,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw Williams,
Aye.
Chairman Springs.
Aye. I need an approval on minutes for February 1st, 2023.
I move that we approve the minutes for February 1st, 2023.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Call for any questions? Hearing none, we'll call for our vote.
Commissioner Patrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Rice,
Aye.
Commissioner Trejo,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw Williams,
Aye.
Chairman Springs.
Aye. Madam Secretary, first item, please.
Item 6A, a public hearing to consider an application by Karina Perez for special use permit number 2022-010, SP 2022-010, to allow the location of a 75-foot-high wireless telecommunications facility monopom on a C2 general commercial zone property at 311 West Century Boulevard.
Chairman Springs and Commission, The file is present and notice has been given in the form and manner as required by law. Staff received no correspondence from the public on this item, and Assistant Planner Angel Leon Martel is present to do a short staff presentation.
Good evening, Chairman Springs and members of the Planning Commission. Copies of the revised materials for this item were provided to you today, which include an updated staff report and plan set. Both materials depict a change from the original request of 3 proposed antennas to 9 antennas and 6 RRUs to 18. Okay. Subject site for this request is located at 3111 West Century Boulevard and is zoned C2 General Commercial. The site is 31,000 square feet located on the northwest corner of Century Boulevard and Crenshaw Boulevard. Properties to the south and west of the subject site are zoned C2. Properties to the east of the subject site are zoned R2 with residential uses and C2 with commercial uses. Properties to the north are zoned R3 with residential uses. The proposed 75-foot monopom and equipment will be installed at the northerly parking lot. Monopom and equipment will be installed behind the existing building where the ancillary equipment will be shielded from view by the public right-of-way. Dish Wireless is a new mobile phone carrier that began in 2020. The carrier is planning to provide coverage to its wireless telephone customers for the first time in Inglewood and the surrounding cities. The site is seen here in the middle of the coverage map. The location was selected by the applicant due to the lack of buildings in the area needed to provide the proposed height and the lack of sites in the area that are available for co-location. This coverage map shows the extent of the area that will benefit from the new facility. Additionally, the proposed facility is designed to support co-location with other future carriers if approved. These images depict the proposed views of the new monopom and are the initial rendering submitted by the applicant. The photos on the left depict existing site conditions, while the photos on the right depict how the monopom will look after being installed. Monopom is proposed to be 75 feet in height. 9 panel antennas will be mounted to the facility and camouflaged by the leaves or fronds. The base of the tree will be painted brown with faux bark cladding to simulate a tree trunk. Accessory equipment will be screened with a 6-foot 8-inch high masonry block enclosure surrounded by 6-foot high shrubs. Based on the simulation of the monopom, staff has conditioned in the resolution for a natural tree shape requirement and a condition that fronds shall be provided at a density to adequately camouflage the antennas. If the Planning Commission approves the request, the applicant will be required to complete the site plan review process. The shopping center and parking lots are well maintained. The corner of Century Boulevard and Crenshaw Boulevard, where the subject site is located, is developed with commercial uses. A proposed monopom at the back of the building will integrate into the character of the neighborhood because there are many mature trees behind the lot surrounding the parking lot. The addition of the new monopom wireless telecommunication facility is not anticipated to alter the character or use of the corridors and will be compatible with surrounding uses. No public comments in favor or against this project have been received. The proposal is consistent with the city's active transportation plan and the climate action plan. The proposed project is consistent with a commercial land use designation and the environmental justice element of the general plan. Notice exemption has been prepared and is exempt from further environmental review. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions the Commission might have. The applicant is also here tonight to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Angel. Very good. We're going to start off questions for you. We're going to start with Commissioner Patrick.
Thank you. Very good report. I haven't any questions.
Commissioner Rice.
Just want to clarify something. It appears that you increased the active operating capacity with the new proposal 3 times what it originally was. Do you know why?
Yeah, actually, that was the initial request was actually mistakenly submitted. Their original request was supposed to be for 9 antennas and the 18 RRUs, but it wasn't reflected on the application package, including the plans. So once I spoke to a staff member at the consulting firm, they, made me aware of that last week and forwarded me the updated plans, and I updated the staff report.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Trio.
Yes, now, the plan showed the one monopome, and we were led to believe that there's only 3 on there, but it's 9. Now, are all 9 on the one monopome?
Yeah, 9 antennas are attached basically to like the top where the leaves are and the fronds, and so they're divided into 3 sectors or areas, and there's basically 3 in each area for a total of 9.
And
Okay.
Commissioner, if you look at sheet A2 of the new drawing submitted, it shows the layout of the 9 antennas.
Which one? A2?
A2.
Okay, another question I have, the conditions that are being imposed includes the number of palm fronds. I think it's like 60 plus, and that was for 3. Now, are the palm fronds going to increase to make sure they cover all 9?
No, that's actually the minimum per our code requirement for any proposed facility.
Okay, if this is approved in site plan review, I want to make sure that there are enough palm fronds to cover the 9 antennas. Also with security cameras, I think that they should install security cameras, which from the report I understand will be discussed in site plan review. My other question is parking, including with the increase in the panels and the increase of the radio units, is that going to take away any more parking?
Some parking is 2 spaces exactly are being taken away. The parking requirement for the shopping center of this site is 38 spaces, and there will be 38 spaces on site.
How will the increase that we're hearing about for the first time tonight, how will they affect the parking? Are they going to take away more than 2? Or,
No, they're not going to take away more than 2. Really, they need 1 parking stall to be available. Usually during off hours for a shopping center, for a technician to come, install, or do regular maintenance on the facility.
okay, thank you.
Commissioner, just wanted to make one comment in regards to the fronds. The number that is included in the resolution is what's in our code, what the minimum standard we've included in the code. So it would have been the same number regardless of the number of antennas that they were proposing. That goes for all the numeric requirements in the code in terms of how many feet they extend beyond the antennas. That's all contained within the code. It would have been the same condition language regardless of the number of antennas. And we in our code and included as a condition, we have a number, let's see, it's number 14, that essentially says the facility needs to be camouflaged to a density that is to the satisfaction of our Economic and Community Development Director, and which allows for ensuring a way to ensure that, it's done well and done right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that all of that was covered. Thank you.
Commissioner Shaw Williams?
I haven't any questions. Good presentation. Thank you.
Okay. You have another question, Commissioner Rice?
There's another monopalm that's probably just west of this, the proposed monopalm. It looks as if it's not camouflaged anywhere near as much as the one that's proposed here. What happens with maintenance? In other words, they camouflage it really well now, and over the years, they're concerned with the operations of it, not the aesthetics. How do we enforce that?
Code enforcement would monitor maintenance of a facility. The reality is many of the older facilities don't have the same level of detail in the conditions. So it's difficult to hold them to the same aesthetic standards that the new ones are being held to. But we'll definitely take a look at that one and alert code enforcement to it.
Thank you.
Good question. I have no questions. If the applicant is here, can you come up and give us your name and tell us about this particular project?
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the great presentation by planning staff. My name is Alex Sadroff. I work for Morrison Hirschfield. We're the consultants on this project for Dish Wireless. Staff kind of touched on this a little bit, just to give you some background on Dish Wireless. Dish Wireless is basically as a result of the T-Mobile Sprint merger. The FCC is wanting to create competition in the telecom industry. With all the consolidation, with all the major carriers, you're probably familiar with T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon. Basically, the federal government said, fine, as part of the merger for T-Mobile and Sprint, we need a fourth carrier, right, to create competition, innovation. And so that's part of the FCC's requirements is they allowed certain spectrum frequencies for Dish Wireless, and they have certain mandates to deploy this 5G network. As part of that, we're basically building a network from scratch, a 5G network where some of the older networks are legacy networks. We're from 2G, 1G, 3G, 4G. Dish Wireless is really starting from scratch and building this network to have high speeds of internet connectivity in and around the project area. And the main objective here, we have no coverage right now in City of Inglewood. The main objective here is to provide coverage in and around the area and to the SoFi surrounding areas.
Okay. We may have some questions. I'm going to open up questions for you. We're going to start with Commissioner Patrick.
Thank you very much. I haven't any.
Commissioner Rice.
So what is the saturation on this proposed monopalm, and how many other monopalms would you need to put into the City of Inglewood to provide complete coverage here?
Right now, it's kind of hard to say, to be honest with you. I mean, we've got, right now, we've got 0 sites built in Inglewood as of today. We are constantly, the network engineering team has what's called search rings, where basically are pockets of area where we need to provide coverage. And as part of that, we look at existing infrastructure where we can co-locate, and it kind of varies. It's hard to put a number on that, to answer your question.
So you would have to, I'm assuming, have 70, 80% coverage before you'd actually activate and start selling. This is for telephone systems, right?
Yeah, this is for 5G telecommunications, wireless connectivity, yes.
I couldn't really see the streets on the map to see how much saturation. I'm just concerned with how many times we're actually going to see you here.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, so
Let's get it over with.
These are propagation maps, right? So they're models of what the coverage would be and what it is today. 4744 is the next site over, as you can see to the left of 4330. That's another site in the City of Inglewood, but it's not. We haven't locked that site down. We haven't officially submitted to that. That's actually, we're in discussions with the Hollywood Park Casino on that one. But that's Ne-
But the red and green grids, those are actually streets. Looks like the 405 at the bottom. Okay,
And it's always shifting just because we are on private property, we're not in the public right of way. It really depends on if we can get our, agree to terms with that private property owner, right, on a lease or an easement. And sometimes that's kind of hard to predict, so I can't give you a straight answer on that.
I see. Thank you.
Commissioner Trio?
Is the coverage only for Inglewood or for surrounding cities also, like Hawthorne and?
No, this
LA?
specific site, this specific location that's here today, is strictly for Inglewood. It's right in the middle of Inglewood, right next to SoFi.
Okay. So we are going to see you coming back then, right? You don't?
Depends on the zone, depends on the site, right?
Okay. One more question. If this is approved, how long will it be before service is offered?
That's a good question. I wish I had a straight answer for you, but basically, we have a mandate to cover 70% of America by June 2023, which is a few months away, right? And so this site is kind of getting a late jump, right? But the goal is to get this site into construction as soon as we can get our building permits from building safety. And then there's also the coordination of power and utilities. But I think we still have time to make the deadline for this one. As far as the other sites, it's hard to say.
So this is an FCC mandate?
This is an FCC mandate, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Shaw Williams?
I haven't any questions. Thank you.
I have no questions either. Thank you very much. At this time, we would like, if anyone in the audience would to oppose or for this particular project, you may come to the mic and do so. Hearing none, we're going to close that segment. Any final questions from the commissioners? We'll start with Commissioner Patrick.
No question.
Commissioner Rice?
Just a quick one. How close are you to your goal? 70% of America is a lot. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Trio?
No additional questions, thank you.
Commissioner Shaw Williams?
No questions. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion. Not entertain a motion, I like to call for a motion.
I move that we affirm categorical exemption EACE 2022-139 and adopt the attached resolution approving SP 2022-010 with the conditions and/or any conditions as deemed appropriate.
Second?
It's been properly moved in second. We'll call for any questions. Hearing none, we'll call for a vote.
Commissioner Patrick?
Aye.
Commissioner Rice?
Aye.
Commissioner Trejo?
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw Williams?
Aye.
Chairman Springs?
Aye. Is there a appeal process, Ms. Wilcox?
Yes, Chairman. According to the Inglewood Municipal Code, this decision can be appealed within 20 days from the Notice of Planning Commission action by filing a written notification to the Planning Division and submitting an appeal fee of $942, at which time the file will be transmitted to the City Council for their consideration.
Hey, thank you, that's a lot, 900. It's gone up. Thank you very much, Angel. Madam Secretary?
Item 7A, non-public hearing. A non-public hearing to consider a Planning Commission Review 2022-003, PCR 2022-003, to allow the installation of a new playground canopy in North Park on an approximately 2.3 acre site.
Chairman Springs and Commission, notice has been given in the form and manner as required by law on this item. Staff received no correspondence from the public, and Assistant Planner Christine Rivera is present to do a short staff presentation.
Good evening, Chairman Springs and members of the commission. This is a request at North Park in the OS Open Space Zone. All properties surrounding the park are zoned R2A with residential uses and a school to the south. There will be a new playground canopy structured due to needed shade and cover from the elements. The canopy location is circled in red at the northwest corner of Hargrave Street and Wexham Way. The proposed canopy will be made of a weather-resistant fabric shade, and it will be mounted with 13 feet of clearance above the ground and a maximum 2,500 square feet in area. If the Planning Commission approves the request, the applicant will be required to complete the site plan review process. The proposed canopy is consistent with the goals of the Active Transportation Plan and the Inglewood Energy and Climate Action Plan. A notice of exemption has been prepared stating the project is exempt from further environmental review. This concludes my presentation, and I am available to answer any questions the Commission might have. A representative from the City of Inglewood Public Works Department is here to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. We're going to open up questions for you. Not you yet, sir. Start off with Commissioner Patrick, please.
Anything for a playground. I think it's a great report. Thank you.
Commissioner Rice,
Great presentation, Christine. Thank you.
Commissioner Trail,
No questions, other than to say I'm happy to see that our canopy's going up in a playground because it can get sunny. Thank you.
Commissioner Shaw Williams,
No questions. I'm always happy to see improvements to our city parks. Thank you.
I have no questions. If the not applicant, someone representing Parks and Recs, if you can come and tell us about this project. Give us your name.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and the Commissioner. My name is Boytris Osayas, and I'm the City Capital Improvement Project Manager from Public Works on behalf of Ms. Sabrina, the Parks Director. So she asked me to be here. So yeah, this canopy has been a long-awaited canopy by the residents of North Park. We improved the North Park, and there's also this the playground, which was installed several years ago. So the children, sometimes, during hot conditions, they said, oh, it's hot. So we decided to, upon the availability of the budget, to install one. We're supposed to install in every playground, but it depends on the budget that Parks has. So this is the first one we're gonna install, and I hope the children will be happy.
Very good. We may have some questions for you, so
Sure.
we're going to start off with Commissioner Patrick.
Thank you. Is this the first canopy to be installed in any of the parks here in Inglewood?
As far as this type of canopy, yes.
And may I ask, what's the cost and why is there a delay in putting them in other parks as well?
Well, this is park projects, so we assist the park projects in every project, and I believe the cost is around 100. This is the lowest bidding cost is 196,000, but the project cost is 106,000, including the contingency.
Well, let's start working on some of the others. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Rice,
Is there a design in the CUME for Edward Benson Park for the amphitheater, or potentially putting a canopy there? Or has there been any discussion about it?
That I'm not aware of that, so I don't know about any design on that canopy in Vincent Park Amphitheater. Well, there's a proposed, I heard about, proposing the amphitheater canopy. And we've been doing the study, but somehow, it didn't go through because, I don't hear any from the parks director, about budget-wise, I honestly, made when we're making that study, it might gonna cost millions, because that's a big and large area. But to answer your question, yes, we're doing the study on that
That's
amphitheater.
okay, we're doing well, we'll get that. All right, thank you.
You're
Commissioner
welcome.
Trio?
What's the lifespan of this type of canopy?
According to the manufacturer, which is the USS Shade, it will be around 8 years. So yeah, that's the minimum lifespan, 8 years.
8 years. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Shaw Williams?
Having any questions? Thank you very much.
My only question would be the cost, you indicated the cost was somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000?
106,000, including the contingency. That's the lowest bidder.
Um,
The highest bidder is around 250,000.
Wow.
I know.
Now, this particular canopy you indicated that has a lifespan of about 8 years.
No, they said that the minimum effective lifespan is 8 years, meaning 8 years it starts to have some fading, so we need to probably check it out and see what we can do.
And my last question would be, was there any consideration of a structure made out of a different type of, not a material, but maybe a roof with shingles? Had that been a consideration rather than a canopy? Was that a thought?
Well, this is the type that the parks director, choose to install there. I know that there's some proposal, but this is the best proposal that was chosen by the parks director.
And the only reason I ask that question is because when you have a canopy, it's a material that's stretched out and you have poles. If you can bring up that design again for us. You can see it has 3 poles or 3 or 4 poles, and it's material that's stretched out. If you had a structure, you would have a structure where there'll be not sides, but 4 poles and a roof. And you have a roof with composition shingle or some type of material or some type of tile roof. And I would think that the cost probably would be approximately around the same, and it would last a little longer than an 8-year period. That's just my.
The structure is composed of 4 steel, round steel, and of course there's a foundation, and the fabric is like a hyperbolic shade fabric, and yeah, it is a hyperbolic shade fabric, and it is being attached to 4 poles.
Yeah, Chairman, I just want to provide a little insight. The fundamental difference between the type of structure you're talking about, which, by the way, was pretty standard in parks for decades, right? Was even though there's a large cost associated, the way we look at it, 100,000, if you compare actually the cost for a physical structure similar to a patio cover, which we're all kind of familiar with, it's a lot more. The utility of this is that the tent material can be changed out. So that's relatively inexpensive. So what you're essentially paying, a big bulk of the cost is to put the foundation for the poles, to install the poles. But after that, what we've seen in a lot of park facilities across the country, they're preferring to go to this because it's easier to buy additional shade structures, the actual structure itself, and just replace it out in an increment of anywhere from, I think he's correct. What I've seen in the past is usually 6 to 10 years, they change them out. And the cost, you don't have to rebuild anything. You don't have a situation where you're dealing with, especially wood structures where they deteriorate over time. Those are the kind of things they're trying to avoid. But I agree with you, in some circumstances, it's better, and you usually see those in the picnic environments where you see those structures. But in the play area, these poles are tall, and it provides for the change out of the nets relatively cheaply. So a pretty decent amount up front, but the cost to change out that net is, I think, under 10 grand.
Under 10 grand?
Under 10 grand.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great presentation, great. We have another question from Commissioner Rice. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
A little confused. I've heard Christina say 2,500 square feet. I think she went for the maximum size of the tent area. But there's a range between 20 by 20 or 50 by 50, which is the difference between a 2-car garage and an 8-car garage.
Mhm.
So I didn't see an area that was that large there to tent. Then how do we bid it if it's a 2-car garage versus an 8-car garage when they put the bid in? What are we building?
The actual size of the shade is around 36 by 46. 36 by 46. It's like a rectangular. It will not cover the whole because the shape of the playground is circular. If you would observe, so and the shade is like a rectangular or square, which is 36 by 46. It will cover entirely the playground, not the whole circular area.
I understand you have an exact dimension. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're going to go with any last questions or comments the commissioners want to make. So we're going to start with Commissioner Patrick. Any comments that you want to make on this?
I haven't any comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Rice?
No comments.
Commissioner Trejo?
No comments.
Commissioner Shaw Williams?
No comments.
Okay, at this particular point, I'd like to see if there's a motion on the floor.
Motion. I recommend that the Planning Commission affirm categorical exemption EACE 2023-004 and adopt the attached resolution approving PCR 2023-002, subject to 5 conditions and/or add conditions as deemed appropriate.
Second.
Okay. I think all the commissioners are in favor of this, so there's been properly moved in second. We're going to call for any questions on this? Hearing none, we're going to call for a vote.
Commissioner Patrick?
Aye.
Commissioner Rice?
Aye.
Commissioner Trejo?
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw Williams?
Aye.
Chairman Springs?
Aye. You have your canopy? You know, the only comment I make about this canopy is that when I was a young man, we didn't have canopies. And I'm kind of jealous that we didn't have them, but. Is there an appeal process, Ms. Wilcox?
Yes, Chairman. According to the Inglewood Municipal Code, this case can be appealed within 10 days from the notice of Planning Commission action by the applicant by filing a written notification to the Planning Division and submitting an appeal fee of $389, at which time the file will be transmitted to the City Council for their consideration.
I'm confused on this dollar amount here.
This is for a design review or Planning Commission review.
Madam Secretary, 7B.
Item 7B, an overview report on fast food regulations.
Oh, yes, that's a good one. Yes.
The moment Commissioner Patrick has been waiting for.
Take that mic from her, please.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the commission. Over the past few years, a number of studies have been conducted on the overproliferation of fast food restaurants in minority communities and why they're disproportionately targeted in lower income communities. The city of Inglewood is no exception. According to business license data, the city of Inglewood has over 200 active fast food or takeout establishments. Those establishments are located, as you can see on the map, along our major streets and corridors, and are located within freestanding buildings as well as in shopping centers. Recently, the city administration has requested that the planning division consider a potential code amendment to regulate fast food here in the city. As you all know, that a fast food restaurant is one that offers certain foods that require minimal preparation time, and are delivered through quick services. As a result of the pandemic, the industry is also exploring alternative business operation models through ghost kitchens or cloud kitchens, which are designed for food delivery services and have little to limited seating, and is similar to what was approved last year at 945 Prairie, similar model that this commission approved. And so this is an option as opposed to building freestanding restaurants and operating within shopping center. It cuts down on their overhead and things of that nature. In order to analyze the potential regulations, staff researched 13 cities across the Los Angeles region and found that there was limited regulation across the region. However, there were a few exceptions. There were 6 cities of the 13 that we looked at that require special use permits for drive-through. So they allowed the fast food restaurants, but if they wanted to have a drive-through, then they would require a discretionary action. There was one city that required a special use permit as well as a 500-foot separation from other fast food restaurants and youth facilities, schools, and daycares and things of that nature. Then there also was a city that required a special use permit for fast food restaurants that were in excess of 5,000 square feet of floor area or larger. They would then be required to come before the Planning Commission to get approval. After analyzing the survey of those regulations, staff has come up with a few potential regulations that we want to discuss with you tonight and get some further feedback. The first of which is requiring a special use permit for all freestanding commercial fast food restaurants. So this would allow for better regulation of these types of uses along our prominent corridors, commercial corridors. Again, a special use permit for drive-through restaurant would allow for us to be able to better monitor noise and regulate noise from the drive-through speaker boxes, as well as vehicle queuing and it's an obstruction to potential traffic along our major corridors. And then also the separation between fast food uses. You know, there's a number of places here in the city where we have freestanding fast food restaurants on each corner of a major commercial corridor. I know that Commissioner Patrick is like, yes, we do. And so, you know, looking at having the opportunity to take advantage of providing a greater separation and minimizing kind of an overproliferation of these types of uses to furthering here in the city is something that can also be addressed with the code amendment. And then lastly, we're looking at establishing some definitions for a commercial fast food franchise definition, something like a McDonald's or a Burger King, where we kind of lump a lot of similar uses together. A fast food restaurant, where we're one thing that we're trying not to do in looking at these regulations is to drown out the mom and pop, the local independent takeout restaurants that you know, need to survive here in the city. We also are looking at creating a definition for a dine-in restaurant as well as ghost and cloud kitchens. I think it should be noted that our IMC currently does not have land use regulations specific to fast food restaurants. We do, as we have in other cases, have parking regulations and guidelines that we use to distinguish the difference between the two. And just a quick note, I know it was mentioned in the staff report, but I think it's worth repeating. The staff kind of distinguishes a takeout restaurant from a sit-down restaurant by a sit-down restaurant having a hosted service, take you to your seat. They come and have a printed menu. A waiter or waitress will come to your table, will take your order, and then they'll deliver your food, as opposed to your general takeout where you walk up to a counter, order, they call your number, you come and pick it up, and then you leave. So that's what staff has used as a matter of practice to differentiate between the two. And so we want to establish some better guidelines and create a clear distinction between the two so that it can help staff be more efficient in how we operate as well. This concludes staff's presentation, and we're open to some questions and discussion.
Okay, very good. I don't know if I want to start with Patrick or not. I do have some questions in regards to that, and good report. And I'm on your side, Commissioner Patrick, so you can start off the questionings.
I won't ask what 13 cities did you go through for this survey, but I'd like to know at the end.
Okay.
I'd like to compliment the staff on the thorough and efficient fast food code amendment overview report. It's very good.
Thank you.
Time will not allow me to go into the zoning of fast food restaurants, the numbers of them in Inglewood, the health of our residents, recently passed legislation designed to protect fast food workers, et cetera, et cetera. We could go on, as you well know. I am sure with some of my recent comments, some may think I am anti-fast food. I am not. I am against the overproliferation here in Inglewood generally and in District 1 specifically. I would like to suggest that with the completion of Phase 1 of the retail stores and restaurants as part of SoFi, additional family-style dine-in restaurants will be developed here in the city of Inglewood. From a visual, I will not go into the details and all the stats that I have because it's a pretty thick package. Fast food places are profitable, and it is impossible to limit the number of people patronizing these restaurants. But I would like to suggest or propose a moratorium by our city council on approval of fast food places with the proper fast food regulations in place until the completion of SoFi Phase 1 and the approval of your code amendment. Thank you. Oops. I am done.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rice?
Thank you. I think we should add to the category probably more modern terms like the kiosk or robot or IT wait staff. Because now like in McDonald's, you can walk in and you're going to talk to this machine and it's going to make your order for you. Is that considered someone waiting your table? You know, so we have to address those items too. I don't have any other comments on that.
Okay. Commissioner Trail?
Well, I think the first thing, just hearing this for the first time, that if we're serious about doing this, number one, my question is, this would be going forward, correct?
Yes.
New
we-
applications.
For new
any-
applications, correct, yes.
Yeah, like a Taco Bell comes in and they would have to, if, assuming this, something like this is adopted, they'd have to adhere to filing for a special use permit, correct? So it doesn't affect the existing.
That's correct.
Only in the sense if there is a separation clause, which I like the idea of having a separation clause. 500 foot to me is a good number. So it would affect existing only in the sense that it would be considered, the existing would be considered when a new application comes in, correct?
Yes, if that does become a part of the regulations, that is correct. And there could be additional regulations that come in the ordinance as we continue to research and move forward. So these are just examples of what could potentially come before you at a later date for a formalized recommendation to City Council.
I just, and I agree that there are way too many fast food locations here. And I think they're all profitable because they're full. You know, you drive by any fast food establishment and there's always people there, there's cars there. I just don't want us to overregulate where somebody that, you know, looks at these regulations and they say, hey, you know, Inglewood is now gone hoity-toity, if that's a term, and they don't want us here, and I don't want that feeling to expand to other businesses that may feel, you know, at some point, you know, they only want something that's high-end. So that's, at the moment, that's all I can think of is I think the 500-foot separation is a good idea. And I think that that if something like that comes through, that maps showing where the other locations are should be provided to the decision makers, in this case, the commissioners, where it's a little larger than the tiny little maps that we get on our reports, but that's way beside the point. But again, at the moment, I can only think of the 500-foot separation. What about something like, oh my goodness, the Starbucks? Would something like that fall in there? Because they sell food too, it's fast. I mean, I think that when Starbucks started to come in, I think it showed that Inglewood had now gone up to another level. When did we have a Starbucks? Only 5 years ago? Something like that?
Wait till the coffee bean comes.
Well, you know, those are the kind of things that you see in places that, you know, maybe have more money to spend, which we now are starting to have. But again, I just don't want it to be put Inglewood in a situation where it might discourage something else. So those are my comments for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Shaw Williams?
I just have two questions. What is a Ghost and Cloud Kitchen? I've never heard of that.
So Ghost Kitchen is it's a new concept that's emerged kind of out of the pandemic, where fast food restaurants will rent out kind of a commercial space that has multiple fast food restaurants in there, and basically they just cook, and it's designed for delivery services to come in, pick up, and take to the paying customer. So it's kind of a way that they've been able to reduce their overhead in rent and just kind of have employees to cook, and they deliver the food.
Yeah, just one thing I want to add to that too, and I think that was a great job what Bernard kind of explained. The other aspect of it that we're seeing is what these, not just fast food chains too, by the way, it's all the restaurants, sit down, all Buffalo Wild Wings, you go all the way down, they're all doing it. What they're doing is they're just allowing a independent entity with their recipe to produce their food. So they give them the recipe, they authorize them to be able to produce the food, so they'll cook it in these kitchens. It's not even, in many cases, it's not even their staff. It's an independent culinary kind of environment where they curate it there, and then using DoorDash and other things, they ship it all out. And to Bernard's point, that really got really popular during COVID, because a lot of the facilities were shut down and the cooks who were at those facilities weren't coming to work. So that was their way of being able to provide service to the public.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's why they call it kind of ghost.
Oh, thank you for that explanation. Thank you. And I think here in Inglewood, we do a pretty good job. I don't know a lot of restaurants that are close to the school, that are less than 500 feet anyway from our schools. Am I wrong in, am I wrong in thinking that? Because
Yeah, there are a few. Just along Manchester, I think there's a Carl's Jr. like right next door to the
Okay.
elementary school. Inglewood High School has, you know, well, it's a little bit further than 500 feet, but there are a few throughout the city.
well, you know, I'm a monarch, so I don't even. So,
Oh yeah. What's over
that's the
there?
only high school I know. But I do want to make a comment. I went to the Clipper game last night, and I was so happy during halftime where they recognized they had the owners of Sweet Red Peach, Doolin's, and Simply Wholesome there, and they recognized them, and it was awesome. It was very, very well received.
Nice. Yeah.
But good report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You said Doolin's?
Doolin's, yes.
They're not fast foods.
No, I was just saying in general, how
Nice.
they recognize some of the restaurants
I
in
see.
Inglewood.
Yeah, Sweet Red Peach, that's one of my favorites.
They're asking if you would please use your microphones.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have a couple more questions from two of the commissioners. We're going to start with Commissioner Rice, and then we're going to move to Commissioner Trio.
I just wanted to add to that conversation with reference to the Ghost Kitchen, Cloud Kitchen. And I know that model requires that you create a parking for Grubhub and Uber Eats and those types of operations. And I think that would really work well also in our congested downtown area. We can create parking spaces for 15 minutes, 20 minutes to help with the performance of those businesses so that the mom and pops can really be successful outside of the sit-down portion of their makeup. Okay?
Okay.
Nothing else.
Commissioner Trio?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chair. I just want to add just a little bit of conversation since we're having such a great conversation about fast food. One of the things I think we kind of alluded to is when you have an overproliferation of these uses, then it doesn't lend itself to opportunities, other types of opportunities. And I think that's getting to Commissioner Trejo's point as well as yours, Commissioner Patrick, about making these sites will eventually over time become available, right? So we don't see what you had your issue with the conversion of an existing structure into that. And then that becomes available for maybe some other opportunities, commercial and retail types of opportunities. So that's an important aspect of the spacing because it does provide for you to be a little bit more creative. And, you know, as Bernard indicated earlier, there's just been kind of a target on communities of color. And we need to address that particular issue, and we understand it. So we're trying to do it in a way where we're not destroying the fabric of this great customer service kind of environment we have. Also trying to figure out a way to protect the small businesses that are really have blossomed in this environment. We don't want to destroy those by over-regulating those. So we're gonna have to do a little homework to figure that out. So I just want to add that.
I was going to mention that. That was going to be my comment, but you stole that comment from me. That's okay. Commissioner Patrick, I think you had something you wanted to say, correct?
Yes, I'd like to piggyback on something that Trejo said.
Talk to your mic.
Commissioner Trejo, I'm sorry.
Talk into your mic, please.
I know that the regulations, once the ordinance or the amendment is done, we have to be so particular how we word certain things because we don't want Inglewood to be recognized as a city that doesn't want to have anything to do with fast foods. So we have to be so particular with that. But I don't see anything wrong with being a little hoity-toity and having more dine-in family restaurants. I would rather that on one end than the other end of everywhere you go, we have fast food restaurants. There isn't anything we can do about it because I have never seen an empty fast food restaurant. McDonald's, In-N-Out Burger, they open at 11 and there were 13 people in line. I was number 13. Anyway, we do have to be particular, so I'm certainly not suggesting that we just do away with them at all. I'm just so concerned that we have so many. And as I've shared with Mindy, McDonald's will offer, well, you can get your 8-ounce soda for $1, but why get the 8-ounce? You can get this 20-ounce for $1. So come on, if you have children, which one are you going to get? That's all that I'm saying. We must be very particular how we word it and how people will be looking upon the city of Inglewood. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to make a couple of comments in regards to fast food restaurants and what we want to try to do. The 500-foot ruling is something good. If one person moves out of a building that was formerly used as a restaurant, now they want to change it to a fast food, I think we need to consider that. I think something needs to be done about that. At one point, here in the city of Los Angeles, in particular, it was an area called Restaurant Row, which was on La Cienega, and it started somewhere on the south end, and then it moved north, and it was just restaurants along that corridor. I think that the fast food opportunity is good for a lot of people. I'm not a fast food eater, but I think a city can be recognized as a city if you want fast foods. You know, this city is going in another direction. We have the SoFi, and then we get into the Clippers arena. So there's going to be times where people want to go to fast foods. And I don't think a fast food is a bad thing. I know it's not health-wise is good, but it's an opportunity for the city to grow with fast foods. I think we do need to make some changes, especially if we're talking about one place being a restaurant, or now they want to change it into a fast food place. A barbershop now wants to be a beauty salon, or those kind of things. So we just have to look at it more intelligently and see what we can do as staff to make it better for the mom and pops. Mom and pops is not going to get into McDonald's unless they buy the franchise. They're going to go and do another burger.
McDowell's.
McDowell's, exactly. So we might want to look at something like that. I do know that we have a fast food place right down the street from Commissioner Patrick. I think she detests that place. I'm not really sure because we don't ever talk about it. Every time I mention it, she gets an angry face. So I'm not sure if she likes that particular fast food restaurant or not. But I think fast foods are okay. I really do. We just need to make some changes in regards to the locations of fast food restaurants.
What is just
Oh, I didn't forget about you. No, I would never forget about you. The Commissioner, I'm gonna let Commissioner Trail keep that thought, Bernard, okay? Commissioner Trail?
There is a fine line, I think, that has to be considered. There really is. But the main question I had, I recall from years ago when Hollywood Park started its plans and submitted its plans that they were going to do, I don't know if it's still the case, but they were going to do,
Microphone, please.
they were going to do, well, not just the white tablecloth, but the food court type situation. They're still going to do that? Okay, so that is something like that has to be considered. I mean, what I specifically remember is saying they want to do it like the Ferry Building in San Francisco. And I love that concept. And it's one of the reasons I want to go visit something similar in Philadelphia that is close by, because it has something very similar to that. And I think that is very successful, because not only do they have like fast food type food, because you stand in line and you order your chili cheeseburger or whatever, and then you go sit down. That's considered fast food. I don't want to discourage that, and it may be right next door to aged cheese or fine wines or something like that. I'd like to see that whatever is done does not affect something like that, because I think that's a real plus for the city whenever they finally open that.
Bernard, you had a comment you wanted to make?
Yeah, just so it sounds to me, and I'm just trying to kind of for my notes for the sake of developing and moving into the next steps. It sounds like we're in support of a 5-foot separation, 500-foot separation from from door to door or property line. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. And then I was also it doesn't seem as though the fast food use per se is amongst the majority as a general is a bad idea. However, what about the thought of requiring a SUP for the drive-through component? One of the things that maybe also helped to spawn the creation of this amendment was the Jack in the Box on Centinela, where there was, because it didn't have to come to the Planning Commission, it was a site plan review issue, reviewed project ministerially approved. There was some noise with the speakers and the hours of operation and things of that nature, and so. And through with the drive-through lighting and traffic related issues that, you know, if the cars are queuing onto Centinela, I don't know if it's gotten that bad, but just being able to have better control over site conditions, circulation, and things of that nature. Is that something that you would like to see come before you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm looking at the number of franchises in a community. For an example, we have 2 McDonald's in the city of Inglewood. We have 2 Jack in the Box. We have more than
2
that. We have
McDonald's.
3 Jack in the Box.
3 McDonald's.
3
3 or 4,
McDonald's.
yeah.
We have 4 Jack in the Box. So I think that should be, we should make a limit on the number of franchises that come into a community as well.
And it
You
should
can do-
also be noted that all fast food is not unhealthy. As I was doing some research, there were restaurants like Tender Greens and kind of some health-based salad restaurants. I prefer a burger, but to each his own. But those types of restaurants are also considered fast food or industry term QSR, quick serve restaurants, things of that nature. So those are other things to keep in mind, as we kind of move this thing ahead. But just wanted to make that point.
We have 2 more comments, or 3 more comments, actually.
Okay.
We're going to start with Commissioner Patrick.
You're right, Bernard. Most of the fast food restaurants are now serving salads and something other than meat. I don't know what you call them, the hamburgers. It's all veggie burgers.
Yeah,
or
veggie
whatever
burgers,
they are.
vegan
They're
options.
selling, yes, they are. So it's all not all bad food, but in my survey,
Yeah.
those things aren't selling very well in our neighborhood. They don't do well at all. The McDonald's, that's on Locust. The lady was telling me that sometimes they just, maybe they'll sell 10 salads.
Wow.
That's one suggestion. The other thing I wanted to note is that some of the buildings that are now being used as fast food, drive-through specifically, the one on my street, the 8th Avenue, I don't know if any of you have gone by there. The drive-through is so small that I've noticed that trucks get caught and they have to back out. And that's one of the reasons I object to that, because it shouldn't have ever been there in the beginning. But you have to realize and be sure that there is enough space allotted for the drive-through, because cars are a lot larger now than they used to be. And now not only do we have larger cars, we have SUVs and the sub-SUVs and Escalades. And I've seen several times people backing out of the Popeyes on 8th Avenue because they cannot maneuver that small drive-through.
Understood.
Thank you.
I don't know what you have against that place there, Commissioner. It's some kind of chicken place, right? Commissioner Rice?
I don't know if we changed the code requirements with reference to the drive-throughs coming through the planning commission or if they were by right with, because at one point we had a Burger King here and the owner expressed where the Yola Center is that they went out of business because they weren't allowed by the city to put in a drive-through. So was that the city or the planning commission didn't allow them to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably had one of the things about adding drive-throughs, it really bounces over into our partnership with Public Works. So you need curb cuts. So you have the on-site kind of queuing aspect of it, but really the curb cut becomes part of the issue. And then I have seen in my 15 years here a couple of times where the traffic portion of Public Works has said, nope, we're not going to give you a curb cut. And then that effectively it kills the opportunity to do a drive-through there. And maybe perhaps it's too close to an intersection. There's a number of kind of issues where we've said no. But it hasn't been because of a discretionary action that I've seen, right? So, and many of you, if you don't recall, a big portion, we caught a lot of this stuff because we had old gas stations converting over, and we do have SUP requirements, special use requirements for those conversions. So we caught a number of those things kind of early on, but to Commissioner Patrick's point, this will require a more in-depth analysis of the appropriateness of those types of activities on land. So I think we'll be able to address that through this particular process. Yeah.
Okay. I think Commissioner,
I had,
you have another one?
actually, that was not even the question.
You and,
That was not even the question. I just went left on that one.
you and Patrick are working together.
But the question is, yesterday I wanted some Vietnamese meatball soup. And I went all the way to.
You need a
Prairie
ghost
down to-
kitchen.
Yeah, all the way to Prairie down to Manhattan Beach to go and get it. I really enjoyed it by the time I got back, but I would have preferred to go around the corner. If we can work on getting maybe culture-based, specialty-based restaurants and not making it so restrictive, although they're fast food, they're specialty-based businesses, and they can operate in 400, 600 square feet. And they're not going to operate. If you offered and said you could be within 2 feet of one another if you were under 600 square feet, well, that's going to wipe out a McDonald's, Burger King, or those types of operations. But it'll allow the mom and pop businesses to come in and pick up 600 feet, 500 feet, and still build out their restaurant.
Excellent.
So by square footage, I think you'll be able to regulate it
Very
better.
good. Very good. Commissioner Trejo, you had another question? Commissioner Trejo, you had another question?
I had a comment also that again, and I will occasionally go to a fast food. And I think all of us probably do. But I noticed that, and a McDonald's too, I enjoy their breakfast in the morning, their sausage biscuit, few and far between. But in any event, when I do go, there are a number of young people working there. And I think those fast food establishments have good employment opportunities for kids starting out, or for, single mothers or single fathers or whatever that may need a job, a second job. I think there's employment opportunities there that is beneficial for them. They may not be able to go somewhere else to work, but it's a good starting point, or it's just a good employment opportunity. So again, I don't want to discourage that. I think going to fast food restaurants is a choice. I have a choice. I could go to Manhattan Beach and go to Tender Greens over there, which I've done also, or some of the nice, more healthy fast food places over there. But occasionally I'll enjoy a plain old hamburger at McDonald's or their sausage biscuits.
There is no fast food, healthy food in Manhattan Beach.
There is.
No way.
At the, where the Seas Candy is, that mall?
Can you believe that she said Seas Candy?
Well,
Commissioner
it's a
Shaw.
landmark.
Oh, I see. Commissioner Shaw Williams, do you have any other comments? We got Commissioner Trejo and her Manhattan Beach fast food place. So let's,
She's right. There's healthy fast food choices. And I know the place you're talking about next to See's Candy. I just can't think of the name of it. But I have no further comments. Thank you.
okay. We're going to close this. Does anyone else have any other questions? No other questions? Okay, I think we have a kind of an idea of what we're looking for. And we look forward to seeing what you put together so we can vote on it.
Yeah, and Chairman, I just want to commend Commissioner Trejo on bringing up the employment aspect
Yes.
of it, because that is something that we need to look at, those kind of unintended effects in our community, and we depend on these kind of operations for, I know my kids did. I worked at Jack in the Box way back when. And so, and it paid for me in first year of college. So we do need to be considerate of that as well. I think I'll kind of end with this point. One of the things that the planning staff has done an exceptional job on is showing us where we're at. That map shows you what we're looking at. And that was intentional to really give you a picture of what's happening globally in our community and even within the individual districts and how it kind of cross-pollinates across. And then some of it you can see where we have higher concentrations of types of uses. So we're going to be probably trying to take that to the next level so you can begin to distinguish types. So your Jack in the Boxes and your McDonald's and your Burger Kings and all. So you can begin to see where these are located. Starbucks is a good example of that, which we're not necessarily referring to right now, but they do fast food. So we got to be careful that we don't also hurt other things that I think we all agree are good, beneficial things to the community, right? So, as not thinking that through. So, I'm proud of what staff is doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to close this segment. I don't think there's no vote on it. So we're going to close this segment and we're going to open it up for anyone wishing to speak to the Planning Commission on any items other than on the agenda can do so at this time. We're going to open it up for the general public. Seeing and hearing them, we're going to close that segment. And we're going to go with our commissioners' initiatives. We're going to start with Commissioner Patrick. We've already talked about your fast food, so we're not going to go there, Commissioner Patrick.
Thank you very much. We have talked about fast food, antennas, and 5G. We've talked about festivals. We haven't talked about something that I brought up when I first came on the commission, and that's our ciclovia. When I had two good knees, I was a member of a bike club, and we rode last week in Cerritos at a ciclovia. And since we have everything going on here in Inglewood, I think that it would be nice if we could look into it. It's a very good, rewarding, fun time where people and neighbors get out and kids on their own scooters and roller skates. So other than that, have a good March. It's March 1st, the Ides of March. Thank you very much. It has been a wonderful meeting. I've certainly enjoyed it. And Ciclovia. I'll mention it again in a year.
Commissioner Rice.
Just want to remind everyone that this weekend is going to be different than probably any weekend we've ever seen in the city of Inglewood. We have Rolling Loud that's going to be here, and they're preparing for it. And there are going to be thousands and thousands of people here in the city. So it's going to be really, really busy in the Hollywood Park area.
Who was that?
Yeah, that's the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I believe. 3 days of that. So just
Who's that you said
be
it was?
mindful. Rolling Loud. It's a festival, hip-hop festival, the biggest. So streets will be crowded.
Is that what you're
Be
putting up
careful,
as so
be
far?
careful, plan around it. You don't have to go out.
So that's what they're setting up as so far.
That's what they're setting up over there, yes.
Commissioner Trill?
I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
I'll agree with Commissioner Patrick. A very good meeting. I enjoyed the back and forth discussion of important things, really, that are happening in Inglewood. And we have some people in the community that don't quite understand what the city is facing and how hard staff works, not just, I mean, planning we know works very hard, but other commissions. I attended a parking and traffic commission meeting last week. And, you know, some people opposing the permit parking in the area where I live, I get the feeling that they just don't grasp that when you look at things, you have to look long range, not just how it affects you directly. And so I think the city has some challenges ahead of it. And but the good thing is, it feels good that staff is working really hard to overcome a lot of that because, it's a lot of new things for Inglewood. So on that note, thank you very much, planning staff and all other public works and others that keep the city going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shaw Williams?
Hi, I'd like to first commend the Park and Recs Department for a fabulous MLK festival that they did on February, was it 18th? It's a beautiful time, beautiful time. And I'd just like to wish everyone a good rest of your week and weekend. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I do want to actually comment on the 18th of February, was it? When they had the Martin Luther King celebration. It was very, very nice, well-attended, good entertainment, food was great, and it wasn't fast food. Just want to let you know that. Well, you could order it and then go sit down. I think that I want to commend Commissioner Patrick for that suggestion that you made. I want to make a suggestion as well in regards to a farmer's market. I think a farmer's market would be good to have on a weekly basis. I'm a veteran and I go to the Veterans Hospital on occasions, so I was there today and they have a farmer's market on Wednesdays. And I found out it's every Wednesday. And they bring in the fresh fruits and vegetables in. So I think that we can do something like that because we have a lot of black farmers in our surrounding areas that we can bring their fresh fruits and vegetables to farmers market. So I want to see if you can talk to one of the city council members. I know you guys have firsthand, you can walk into their offices anytime you want, and you might want to suggest that to them, that we can look into a farmer's market. This month is March, and it's Women's History Month. So women's who have actually contributed to our nation and done wonderful things. So we want to consider the women's that are in our lives that have done wonderful things. And lastly, I want to commend and thank the staff for their wonderful works that actually put everything together. I'm saddened that I cannot attend this Philadelphia trip. And don't come back telling me how wonderful it was. Reverend in the end.
Frozen.
There. I think I want to reconsider that, Ms. Wilcox. Okay, let's look into that. No, but seriously. But that's it. I think we had a great meeting tonight. It was very to the point where we had a lot of things done, especially with what Bernard had brought up and staff had brought up. I think that's something that we really need to look into. And I look forward to our next meeting. Don't forget to vote for those who live in District 1. We have an election that's coming up. So if you're not registered, I think it's too late, but don't forget to vote if you're registered and you live in District 1. You can register the day of. I was just told. So if you live in District 1. And that's it. Meeting's adjourned.